The following program is rated M for a mature audience. It contains coarse language.
Welcome to Hungry Beast. Tonight we look at what it takes to achieve perfection. From creating the perfect soldier, to crazy vegetables, to the animal that makes humans look pretty second-rate.
But first, have you ever felt a little creeped out by fake humans in animated movies? Well, that sense of unease has a name.
The faces on our screens are changing.
Every year, animated characters in games like Red Dead Redemption and films like Beowulf, Final Fantasy and Tron Legacy bring us closer to having perfect, photoreal digital humans, indistinguishable from us fleshy ones.
As intricate as this computer-generated imagery is, if you look at these faces long enough, you realise that they look nothing like humans at all and more like heavily Botox zombies.
I feel strange.
Are you touching me?
Now, there is an explanation as to why we feel uneasy when we see something close to human. It's called the uncanny valley.
In 1970, a Japanese roboticist named Masahiro Mori stumbled across this thing. The more human-like he made his robots, the more people liked them.
But only up until a point. As they closed in on actual perfect reproduction of the human form, people just got creeped out.
Okay, Mori's theory is probably best understood as a graph.
The baseline here represents how much your robot or your animated character looks like a real-life human being.
And then going up on this axis here, you have how positively the audience is responding to your character.
So at the bottom here, neither humanoid or well-loved, you've got your industrialised robots.
And as they go up and become more lifelike, you can see how the positive reactions actually grow.
But at this point, things start to get strange.
Because your character can become so lifelike that your brain actually ticks over and goes, oh wait, that's a human, there's something really wrong with them.
Your positive reaction plummets, and you don't start to feel good again until you see what appears to be flesh and blood humanity, like Marc here. So, this is the uncanny valley.
Now, you might be saying, bah, I can tell what's human and digital, and it never makes me feel weird. Well, meet Emily.
Image Metrics is a markerless, performance-driven animation company.
And now, meet the other Emily.
Yeah.
This very effective little corporate video demonstrates one of the latest developments in facial replication from a company called Image Metrics. The animation is so detailed and convincing, but it's still a bit disconcerting, right?
Yeah.
So, just how hard is it for the professionals to climb the uncanny valley?
To find out, we visited the people behind the fake humans of the Matrix 300 and more. Animal Logic.
Always in the uncanny valley, the audience looks for or responds to the eyes. It's the first comment that people see, that they look somehow dead or empty or zombie-like. There's a term that keeps coming all the time, probably every day here, which clients ask us for, which is photoreal. And it's a term which I don't like using, and we try and, again, dampen here, because all photos are lies. I suspect that there will be something always deep within us that will just make us a little bit wary of something that is not us, one of us.
And the uncanny valley isn't just on our screens.
It's spilling into the physical realm with lifelike sex dolls.
And Ulzang, a Korean subculture where girls have their eyes surgically altered to look like those of an anime character.
And any movie starring Nicole Kidman.
Soon, technology will allow us to build a bridge over the uncanny valley with 100% photorealistic animations.
The uncanny valley at the end of the day is the gap between seeing and believing. And I think believing is the key word.
Well, if it isn't Filthy Steve. Spoonful of sugar?
How much?
Tuppence.
What, tuppence?
Tuppence a bag. It is 100% pure. Spit spot.
Rude, you know, but that's women. Poppins! Get her, Michaels! Catch her!
That was practically perfect in every way.
Close your mouth, Michaels. We are not a codfish.
Stuff said. Perfection.
A Persian rug is perfectly imperfect and precisely imprecise. Old Middle Eastern proverb. Small imperfections are intentionally included in rugs because only Allah can be perfect.
Exercise in your underwear. They are far less forgiving than workout pants and can really motivate you to go for an extra 10 minutes. Starving tips for skinny girls who want to look thinner. From a pro-anorexia website. Details withheld.
The round form is the most perfect of all. Renaissance architect Sebastiano Serlio. Throughout history, philosophers and artists have admired circles and spheres, although they are impossible to physically achieve. At an atomic level, they will always be uneven.
The weapons of war may change over time, but the people fighting stay pretty much the same. Or do they? Scott Mitchell looks at some of the ways science is attempting to create the perfect soldier.
In the last 70 years, soldiering has come a long way. During World War II, only about 20% of American troops actually fired their weapons at the enemy during combat. The rest, faced with the prospect of killing, chose to deliberately miss their target or froze completely. Now, thanks to the introduction of psychological conditioning, silhouette targets and combat simulations, the modern coalition soldier in Afghanistan fires on their enemy almost 100% of the time. Having overcome human psychology, military scientists trying to perfect the modern soldier have turned to altering the human body, biologically and chemically, to achieve better results on the battlefield.
We're at a turning point in history. For the first time in hundreds of thousands of years, our technologies are not so much aimed outward at modifying our environment in the fashion of fire, clothes, cities, agriculture, space travel. Instead, our technologies are increasingly aimed inward at modifying our minds, our memories, our metabolisms, our personalities, and our kids. We're beginning to change what it means to be human.
In 2002, a project manager at DARPA, the Defense Advanced Research Projects Agency in the United States, explained, "My measure of success is that the International Olympic Committee bans everything we do." To begin, they hope to increase alertness, cognitive power, and end the need to sleep.
When it comes to cognition enhancement, there's a FDA-approved prescription drug called modafinil, which allows helicopter pilots to fly in combat for 40 hours, and at the end of it, they will be as functional as somebody who is well rested.
The British Defence Ministry has purchased millions of doses of modafinil, presumably for distribution to their troops.
Another drug could protect soldiers from the emotional toll of war.
It turns out that propranolol also can be given as a preventive measure to reduce the chance that soldiers will get PTSD. The concern is that this might also reduce their ability to make moral judgments.
This year, DARPA will spend $4 million on Silent Talk, a mind-to-mind communication system. Another focus are brain-computer interfaces. This technology has already filtered into consumer electronics, allowing users to control video games and remote vehicles. The military applications are obvious.
An F-35 jet fighter is an extremely complicated machine to try to control with a joystick. So DARPA's thought is, how much better would it be if you could control this machine with your brain?
Also being researched is the human digestive system, to see if it's possible to create a soldier that could live off war-zone foliage.
It would be good to be able to eat grass and bark, wouldn't it? You don't have to worry about, carrying a lot of rations with you.
But long-term, DARPA hopes to enhance the very building blocks of the human body, mitochondria, the power plants inside your cells, from muscle fibre to brain tissue.
The human body is extremely inefficient. In principle, you should be able to run an Olympic sprint on one breath of air. You're talking about seriously enhanced human beings.
The US Army Research Office believes mitochondria research could boost soldier physical and performance capabilities and expand the age range of suitable recruits. If it can pull that off, it might benefit all of us. The commercial market for a compound that could reverse the effects of aging would be more than significant.
Wouldn't we want our medical researchers to take a drug that would make them more creative and give them a higher intellectual capacity? Wouldn't we want our emergency rescuers and firefighters to be as strong as they can be? And indeed, for the military, wouldn't we want our warfighters, our soldiers, to be as strong and as smart and as alert as they can be, and to have the widest range of abilities in the most hostile environments that they'll encounter?
Inevitably, human enhancement technology will come back into civilian society. LASIK eye surgery was created by DARPA and is now being used by athletes like Tiger Woods to get better than 20/20 vision. So the ethical questions raised by these technologies are ones we will all have to face soon.
Analysis and consideration of these ethical issues is really playing catch-up to the technologies themselves.
These human enhancements, can they be reversed? Yes or no?
So it's one thing if you're taking a drug like an amphetamine or modafinil, wears off in a while, but what if what we're doing to you is a more long-term or even permanent change? So imagine, sitting down for the family dinner and, the wife and kids are eating normal food and you're eating the daily newspaper.
We can't wait for these technologies to be just dumped in our lap. What you have to do is start figuring out what we should do, not what we can do. It's what we should do that should be the conversation that we're all having, because this is coming at us real fast.
In the late 18th century, Louis XVI of France was so sick of getting underweight steak that he demanded measurements be standardised. And after a century of committee meetings, the metric system was introduced, based on a series of perfect weights and measures kept under lock and key. But as Dan Ilic finds out, they may not be so perfect.
This is the kilogram. Not a kilogram, the kilogram. You're looking at the definitive mass, the official weight and measure, the kilogram against which all other kilograms are judged. Forged in 1879, this perfect mass of metal lives under lock and key in a glass safe in a French chateau. But the kilo has a problem. It's just not feeling itself anymore. In its 132-year history, kg has only been allowed out about half a dozen times for cleaning and weighing, and in that time, it's actually lost 50 micrograms. That's about the same weight as a human fingerprint. The difficult truth is all objects change over time. For instance, we all know that a gram today is about $250, but around New Year's, the metre originally was just a strip of metal kept in that same French chateau, but in 1983 it was replaced with a more permanent definition. A metre is now the distance the light travels over 1/299/792/458ths of a second. Some want to replace the kilogram with another physical version. The CSIRO is pimping two apparently perfect silicon spheres. But Aussie success may be unlikely because now boffins are trying to redefine the kilo as a number 2 by measuring its electrical and magnetic force based on the Planck constant and a watt balancer.
What?
It doesn't really matter. What's important is that it's going to be far more accurate than this rapidly slimming blob of metal. In fact, the white coats that are trying to redefine the kilogram are going to be meeting up later on this year to discuss their 16 years of research. I'm not going to say that last bit.
Say it.
And I can't hardly wait.
Meet the cockroach, uber survivor and arguably the closest nature has come to perfection. Here's how long humans have been around, and this is how long dinosaurs ruled the earth. Now consider the humble roach, survivor of ice ages, continent breakups and asteroid impacts. A survivor which can go for hours without oxygen, for 90 days without food, and 40 days without water. A survivor which can even regrow severed limbs. A decapitated cockroach head can live without its body for 12 hours. The headless body, on the other hand, can survive for up to 40 days, dying only because it lacks a mouth to eat with. There are 428 species in Australia. The most common is the German cockroach. If one German female moves into your home, you could have 100,000 more within a year. Wherever humans are, roaches will follow, even in outer space. There are rumours of roach sightings on the Mir space station, and in 2007, a Russian roach, called Hope, was the first land animal to conceive and give birth in space, producing 33 offspring on board a Photon spacecraft. Despite their reputation, cockroaches are cleaner than humans. They eat our rubbish and don't typically carry diseases. In fact, the pesticides we use to kill them can be much more of a threat to us than the roaches themselves. And they can actually be good for our health, having been used as treatments for indigestion, tetanus, boils, earache, and impotence. A 2010 study found roach brains have powerful antibiotic properties, killing 90% of resistant bacteria and E. coli. But that's not the only example of roach science. Cockroaches have a reaction time of 40 milliseconds and can travel up to 50 body lengths per second. Human engineers are hard at work unlocking the secrets of their extraordinary mechanics. One scientific project hopes to use this knowledge to make cars that are impossible to crash. Elsewhere, there has even been a suggestion that roaches could be turned into human time capsules. Researchers have proposed translating our books and magazine articles into DNA code, then splicing those texts into the genetic makeup of roaches, ultimately breeding an insect archive of human achievement, capable of surviving millions of years.
The cockroach, unloved by humans, untouched by nature, undoubtedly the perfect creature.
Where is she? Where's Mary Poppins? Enough, Michaels! Michaels, enough! Right. Where's Poppins?
Fuck off, pigs! I ain't telling you shit about Poppins!
Make a scene, Michaels.
When someone is a perfectionist or just very particular about something, we often jokingly say they have OCD. But obsessive compulsive disorder and anxiety-based mental illness is a lot more complicated than just being a neat freak, as the following sufferers are about to tell you.
My compulsions were mainly about security, lots of locking, lots of checking of locks. I was always checking taps, making sure the tap wasn't dripping. Everyone kind of bandies it around and people always go, "You're so OCD," but it's a really horrible thing to go through. I don't think people are educated to how much it can fuck up people's lives.
My rituals were different. Washing my hands was 3 times. Having a shower was each part of my body 3 times, but I had to do it 7 times all over.
You were very clean, though.
Yes. I would spend 2 hours trying to lock the back door, the front door, the windows. We'd be in bed and I'd say to him, "Can you just check the doors and windows again?" And he'd say, "I've already done that." And I'd say, "If you love me, you'll check it again."
And I did.
He did. He was very good.
Good numbers were 4, bad numbers were 6. I knew what I was doing wasn't normal behaviour. I didn't want anyone to see it. It'd be, in my head a lot of the time. Also, just at school, drinking water from the tap, I'd make sure I'd take 20 swallows of water or 24 swallows. It was just, then I'd have to do it again just because that was a bad number. I'd have waves of anxiety coming at me more frequently and harder until eventually I got in so deep that the more I struggled against it, I essentially was drowning.
Someone who's really living in the midst of OCD are living in hell. The thought came that if I didn't do all these things perfectly, somebody in my family would die.
You know how sometimes a light switch goes halfway, and I always had to make sure that it was perfectly one way or the other. Otherwise, I would assume that somehow the wiring would catch on fire and everybody inside my house would burn to death. It's all like a bargaining system. It's this weird kind of perverse bargaining system where your mind has control over you and it's like you must do this inane task in order for you not to commit something terrible.
There's nothing wrong with my mind. It's a biological condition that generates this anxiety. So I always had a rational sense that what I was doing was baseless. It's just that the anxiety clouded all that. It was really hard to access and put faith and belief in that rational thinking.
By this time, I was sitting at home and Dennis used to have to shower me, dry me and dress me because if I showered wrong, somebody would die. If I got dry wrong, somebody would die. Every time I woke up of a morning, I'd start to cry because I'd think it all starts again.
Here we go again.
Yep. I really didn't think that me not straightening a pen would cause somebody to die, but I wasn't going to take that chance. So I did the things. And then the more you do them, the more you have to do them because it makes it real.
It's kind of like your mind is holding you hostage and it's like, well, you have to go back and read this paragraph 5 times or else it's going to make you do all these terrible, terrible things that you just go, okay, I'll do this, I'll do anything to stop myself becoming a monster. The worst thought that I had was about killing my mum. I read an article about a boy who murdered his mother. That's what planted the seed in my head. And it was utterly the most terrifying thought that I'd ever had. It just like, I spiraled completely out of control internally, but like externally, I couldn't tell anybody, I couldn't let anybody know because I was scared that they were going to lock me away. I lived my life in fear for a good, 3 or 4 months. But I kind of came to the conclusion that if I didn't do something about it, then I was going to end up killing myself.
That one. Treatment's hard because they're asking you to confront things that you fear, but it's so worth it to get your life back.
It's going to be like that, isn't it?
Yeah, just do your worst.
I was kind of worried that I'd go to the therapist and be like, well, I'm having all these terrible thoughts about murdering my mother. And she'd be like, well, you're just insane. She made me act out the thoughts. It was really crazy to like have to sneak into her office with an air knife. I was not dealing with that well. I was 16 at the time. I was just like, I just want to get married to Taylor Hanson. I don't want to have to deal with any of this stuff. So yeah, I'd have to come in and be like, ugh, and I couldn't do it. Like I physically couldn't do it, but that was great because that was so confronting. That was a great way for her to reveal that I wasn't capable of committing the thoughts that I was telling myself that I could.
I remember one night sitting on the floor in the lounge room at his feet, just saying, just check the door once, please, just once, and crying, and he just said, I'm not allowed to.
It was heartbreaking a little part for me because I could see her suffering and I wanted to help her, but it was very hard just not to do it, sort of try and help her. What do they call it? Tough love? And
really tough.
Very tough, but it worked.
I don't think you fully ever get over it because it's not like getting the chicken pox and you have it once and you get it out of your system. It's a chemical malfunction and you live with that for the rest of your life. You just learn how to deal with it better. That's what I do. Turn off taps. Save water, Australia.
I've slowly learnt to rewire my brain a bit. The medication just takes the edge off the anxiety so that I can deal with the thoughts better. I'm not yet, but I feel pretty good about where I'm at.
I realised that everyone has their own case of fucked upness. It's just a matter of being honest about it.
No, my housemates don't know about it at all. Nobody at work knows about it at all. People might be about to find out, and I'm not too fussed about that. It's certainly a big part of who I am. I want a positive message out there for people. I want them to know that it's completely manageable.
There's no shame in going to therapy. There's no shame in asking for help, and there's no shame in having OCD.
Mr. Banks, were any of these men with Mary Poppins the night she murdered your wife?
Oh, I don't know. Maybe that one.
Number 3, step forward, please.
This is Hungry Beast on perfection. Admit it, when you're down at the fruit and veg store, you reach for the prettiest apple or the perfect peach. Your choice has nothing to do with taste. It has to do with how they look. Well, German artist Uli Westphal sees things differently.
My name is Uli Westphal and I'm a freelancing artist in Berlin, Germany. When I moved first to Berlin and I started getting my groceries at local markets, the first potato that I came across was an eggplant, which was 5-headed. And a few stores further I found bell peppers that were really looking like molecule models. And a few stores further I found cucumbers that were looking almost alive. They were curling like snakes. So I started collecting. I almost went every week to the market. I usually took the produce home and took the pictures, and afterwards I would cook with it. Whenever I would show these pictures to people, they immediately had this whole brainstorm going, what is wrong with these produce? Where do they come from? And why is it that I've never seen this before? Most of the people were grossed out by what they saw. My favorite, it's a lemon. It looks almost like an octopus. It has tentacles coming out. I was really fascinated by those objects because they had really great sculptural quality. They were really intricate shapes and colors. But what made me really fascinated was that they were instantly triggering thoughts about the way our whole food system works. We would never find those kind of shapes and colors in standard supermarkets. And if it looks a little bit different, then the customers are less likely to pick it up. And that triples all the way down the food chain, so it goes back to the farmer and then even back to the seeds that are being grown. Over the course of the last 50 years, produce has become so monochrome and monotonous. People have got so used to this consistency that everything that varies or deviates from this norm is regarded with mistrust or disgust. The more symmetric something is, the more beautiful it is to people. But it's also a question of what do we think is beautiful. Like in every culture is something different. And I think in our culture, it's really this consistency that's perceived as beautiful.
Follow the money.
$1 million US. The prize given by video game company 2K Sports to a man who pitched a perfect game in Major League Baseball 2K10. In the real world, the feat has been accomplished only 20 times in history. $120 million. The predicted revenue for the Australian prawn industry from the perfect prawn. Bred by the CSIRO, it is completely sustainable and produces twice the yield of meat. More than $6 billion. The amount of money spent by Australian households each year on cosmetics and toiletries.
Is this rolling? Step forward so you can be a bit closer to the mic there. That's it.
I feel kind of awkward now. This is worse.
Definition of perfect?
It's a really hard question, but I'd probably have to say my back.
My chest.
My stomach.
My legs. So you can wear shorts and when you're walking around you've got big tree trunks.
My arms do me good. My back and my biceps.
Especially when I do the front double bicep pose, I find it all really comes out and shows.
I have to say I like everything about my body. I feel like I'm a real visual person.
Just a bit of a perfectionist and keep seeing areas that I could improve on.
I suppose like an artist likes looking at working on a painting and then sees that.
I've chosen to push it as far as I can, looking wise, and obviously I'm someone who likes to strive, constantly grow.
Oh, you look good, you feel good, people comment on it.
Don't feel 52, that's for sure.
I just love the feeling of being strong. I just like lifting heavy shit.
Wife's pretty happy about it as well.
This is just a sport for me. This isn't a vanity purpose.
The sport of bodybuilding is definitely an illusion. It's an illusion of fitness.
You don't feel really good, just your energy levels.
Everyone always goes, oh, you look so fit, what sport do you do? But I couldn't run further than a kilometre probably.
People just see that 3 months of hard dieting, but it's every day in the gym.
Oh, I don't think I'm perfect. I don't think anything's ever perfect.
I don't know if we ever achieve it, because if you think you've got perfection, you would lose your lust for trying.
I think I am perfect.
It's hard to say. I'm happy the way I look now, so yeah, I'm not perfect. You know, everyone's got something they don't like about themselves.
Beautiful, nice, brown, muscly body.
Perfection, I think, is being happy with yourself.
Everybody's different and you can't match yourself to someone else. You can only deliver what you can be.
Imperfection is perfection now as well.
To be bigger, to be leaner, to be something that people admire, to be able to be like, to be a positive role model for people in society, I suppose.
If you smile and you like your life, I think that's pretty perfect.
I don't think there is one. I don't think I'm ever going to say I'm perfect.
I could sum it all up in being humble, having a good spirit and trusting everyone as equals, because that's what makes the world a better place.
Love, really. Love to me is perfection, nothing to do with looks or anything, because none of that is perfect. Thank you.
Thank you very much. It was great. Good luck this afternoon.
Well, that's another episode of Hungry Beast, as near to perfect as we could get it, short of us all getting extreme makeovers.
You can find extended interviews about creating the perfect soldier and from our story on obsessive compulsive disorder, along with links to OCD support services on our website.
And as always, keep up with us during the week on Facebook and Twitter.
Next week on Hungry Beast, we sell out and cash in on the subject of wealth. Tune in, it's on the ABC, so you've already paid for it. Good night.
Revolution, nuclear warfare, asteroid impact or economic collapse. Cataclysmic for you and I, but a mere speed hump for those with enough cash to pay their way out.
Behold, the humble $1 coin. It's solid, it's shiny, it's also dying.